Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. Joining me on the show today is an artist I'm so excited to have a conversation with. Please welcome Carley Ridersleeve. Hi Carley.
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's sunny out, so that's positive.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm so excited you're on the show. We have lots to chat about, but before we get into all the specifics, I would love for you to share a little about yourself and your journey in music so far.
Yeah, it's a long story, as it is for probably most people, but I started off being obsessed with the drums when I was younger. And I was a drummer for a while when I was a teenager and was like trying to find the right fit for like a band. Like I felt like I was trying to like make a band. It was kind of wild. And I feel like eventually when I kept songwriting and I started learning other instruments, I was like, "Oh, I think I need to sing," because I was writing these songs and trying to have other people sing them, and it just felt kind of strange. So, I was really shy and really afraid of singing, but eventually just, like, did it, and it kind of opened up my world, I guess, and let me express myself creatively and lyrically, and, yeah, I think I just love music for so many reasons, but I also love being an artist because I get to do more than just music. I get to, like, make visuals and build a world, and that is all just as exciting to me.
Yeah, no, I love that so much, and I totally relate with writing songs and maybe not knowing what to do with them at the beginning, wanting to pitch them, that kind of thing. But if you write music that is authentic to you and vulnerable and based on your personal experience, it kind of feels right to be the one to sing those songs. Not that other artists can't. It's just it's better for me personally, like writing those songs and being able to share my story through my voice.
Yeah, exactly, especially if you're that type of writer that does include personal bits. Like, I feel like that's what I like writing about, and I feel like originally I was like, "Wait, why is someone else gonna sing this very personal experience?" So I totally get that.
Yeah, for sure. So how would you describe your sound?
Yeah, musically, I'm trying to, like, even navigate that myself. I think it's a blend between, like there's, like, country folk influences, and there's also, like, indie bedroom pop singer-songwriter things going on. There's a little bit of a rock undertone from when I was more into rock music, so I think it's a big blender of all those things, so I don't know if I could exactly pin it down. But yeah, those are probably I just named every genre, and I'm like, "That's me," but that's
I love that though. I think multi-genre artists are amazing. I have a similar situation where I started exclusively doing pop music. Then I did some country music and now I'm kind of like this melting pot of like a bunch of different genres and I think it's really cool when you're not restricting yourself to a certain genre because if you write from personal experience and you write authentically based on whatever story you're trying to tell through the lyrics, those different stories will lend themselves to different kinds of songs. And so I think it's really cool when artists aren't afraid to be more diverse with their genres because it's going to be easier and open more doors for you to explore how is the best way for me to share this song and paint the musical landscape of this song. Is it more of a country song? Is it more of a hardcore rock pop song? So I think being multi-genre really gives you the freedom to tell your stories in the best way possible.
Yeah, it does, and, like, it sometimes when you're producing a song, like, you don't even know what direction it's gonna take, and I think being open to just allowing the song to pour out naturally is key.
For sure. Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm happy you brought out the production because I know you produce yourself, which is fantastic. I got into production working closely with my producer, but no way am I a producer or an engineer or anything. So, how did you go about developing your production skills?
I think I've always been, like, a tech nerd, like, my dad's really into tech, and I feel like from a young age, I was, like he was taking apart computers and, like, building things and doing things like that, so I think it's kind of in my blood. So when I was younger and I really was interested in music, I just, like, downloaded GarageBand, I guess, when I was, like, 13 and just started, like, messing around and playing all the instruments to the best of my abilities that I could. I think it was just in me to want to be a producer. And maybe that's probably what I resonate with sometimes more than anything is like a producer is just the arrangement of all of the different parts of the song, figuring out how everything flows together. But it's tough and it has taken like a lot of time and refinement of skills and like understanding of engineering and just tech in general. Like it's complicated. So it definitely like has taken me some time and I finally feel like I'm at the place now where I really like what I'm producing cuz originally I'm sure you can understand like when you're trying things out you're like, "Whoa, I have an idea in my head and I have no idea how to make that actually exist on the computer."
Yeah, no, super relatable. So the music engineering is one step beyond the production. So how did you go about developing your engineering skills?
I just Googled stuff. I'm like a total internet nerd. Like I will go on Google and just endlessly Google things for hours and hours and weeks at a time. And I feel like that like is school if you use it the right way. The internet can be education if you're like, wanting to find the information. So yeah, I think it was that, and then also I think naturally when you just have songs in your head, you kind of know how things should sound, so I think it's about taking those ideas that you're having and, like, just finding a way to replicate them, and there's probably no right or wrong way to engineer things sometimes. It's just about if it sounds right or feels right.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. I think, my producer and I had many conversations where I've asked him, like, how do you know, like, the compression? And, like, how do you know this, that? And he's like, sometimes it's literally just, like, listening to it and until it sounds right. And when it sounds right, that's usually what's right. I think sometimes, I mean, obviously, there's, like, a science aspect to music and production, but music does come from the heart. And sometimes if you're so scientific about it, can lack the emotion sometimes and, like, really listening and using your human senses to just, like, what feels right, what sounds right, and then going with that.
Yeah, totally. I think that you just like hit the nail on the head with the engineering. Like you can get so in depth. And I've worked with people who are very like technical and mathematic. And that's an amazing skill that like I haven't even reached that. I'm just more go based off of feeling, which works for me, I guess. So
Yeah,
that's good.
no, for sure. And I like what you said earlier about whenever you were starting to get into production and writing songs, you didn't know how to take what was in your head and replicate that. And I think that was something I really struggled with at the beginning. And even working with my producer at the beginning, trying to articulate what I wanted and show him reference tracks, like, these are kind of the vibes that I'm going for, but, like, still struggling myself to, like, explain what I wanted, and I've just seen, like, a massive evolution myself, basically co-producing my stuff at this point, knowing, like, exactly what I want it to sound like, and not only having the skills now to really think about the instrumentation and the arrangement, but having the language and the knowledge necessary to, like, communicate with my producer about it, because before it was just like, "Here's a couple songs, let's try something," but now I'm, like, very active in the process, and I do think it takes time. For a while, I was considering, like, maybe, like, being an engineer would be fun, maybe, like, being a producer would be fun, and I'd started to, like, get into it a little bit, and it does take time, and I'm not that patient, and I'm like, "I don't have the patience."
Yeah, yeah, that's all like I think a lot of people have that same exact experience and yeah, I totally get it. I've been there. It's definitely a language. It's a refinement of like understanding, yeah, the right words to use and even like right now like I'm making we just finished an album for my wife. We're both making each other's albums, like producing and engineering them together and just writing everything, playing all the instruments and um, even between us 2, I think when you're working with an artist, everyone has their own language and you have to decipher what the words mean to them, even. It's like it takes a while to build that working relationship with an artist and a producer.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's a really delicate relationship, especially because when you're working with an artist, especially artists like us who write personal songs, you're basically dealing with someone's heart and their story. And so producers have quite the job to not only need to have the skills to produce the song, but also be able to work with the artist and communicate with that artist in order to bring their vision for the song to life. And so I give producers so much credit. And that's so cool you guys are doing that. What sparked the idea to do that?
We both met because we had the same managers and we both kind of signed our first deals at the same time and got thrown into like the whole world of like at the time I didn't have the skill set to produce my own stuff. So I was working with different producers and navigating that and so was she and then eventually when we got together over the pandemic, we were like, "Wait, let's just do it ourselves." Because we had it in our heads. So I think like, yeah, the past few years has just been us like learning all of the tech and the engineering to bring the vision to life. But yeah, it's been really fun to have such a closed knit group. And yeah, it definitely makes it more personal when you're making it with someone that you love too. So
Yeah.
that's fun. Yeah.
I love that so much. So, speaking of your music, I want to hear about your two latest singles. So, if you can share the inspiration behind She Knows and American Girl.
Yeah, she knows. I started writing that a few years ago with one of my friends, Kirsten Maxwell. She's a singer songwriter as well, and we both were going through, like, a heartbreak, I guess, at the time, like, both with different people, and we were dealing with, like, just thinking about our respective, like, people nonstop and just, like, I don't know, living in that, like, sad, genuine heartbreak, and I had recorded an earlier version a few years ago and then taken it down, like, it didn't really come out the way I wanted it to, and I got to reapproach it now with the new version, and Morgan and I like reproduced it, and then we also wrote a new bridge, and it's been really cool because you normally when you write a song, you kind of write it and you produce it and then it comes out, but having space with it, I think let me approach it from a new way that I'm more proud of like how it came out now. But yeah, it's like a sad ballad, so that's what it is.
I love that so much, and I think that's a really good point of allowing yourself to not rush the process, and if you do something and you don't like it, you have the ability to do it again. There have been several times just from the studio side of things where I did vocals for a song, and then I was listening back to it, I'm like, "I'm not happy with it," and instead of me rushing that release, like I originally had a release date in mind, I gave myself the permission to reschedule like a recording session and sing it again and then much happy with it now. So I think it is great to at any point in the process, like while recording or while writing or after it's released, to take it down and do it again. Like we have the ability to do that. And I think it's really cool how you not only just redid the song as it was originally, but you made some changes to it, wrote a new bridge for it, and had a new version that you were prouder of. And I think it's really important for us as artists to be proud of our work. And so taking the steps necessary to achieve that is always important.
Yeah, and I think right now we're in such a fast-paced culture, like, with everything, and even with music, like, I think sometimes, like, sitting with songs and just because we have the ability to record them right away doesn't mean we should. Like, back in the day, you would go play a song live for, like, maybe 3 years before you wrote it, and you got to live with it and, like, fix and changed the little nuances that make it special, so yeah, and I'm the queen of re-recording vocals, so I really get what you're saying. I re-record them 3 times per song.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
No, but like literally, like there's two songs that are going to be on an EP I'm working on, and I recorded them originally in like I want to say like 2019 or 2020, like right before the pandemic, and they were like country pop crossover, and they didn't fit on my debut album that was pop that I was working on at the time. And then I had like another EP and then I had my other pop album. So I just never got to release them yet. And then I had this whole idea for a new EP and those two old songs just happened to fit. Like I wasn't even like trying. I was like looking through my catalog, like what else can I include? And those two just like occurred to me. And because I didn't release them yet, and I've obviously grown over the past like 5 years, there were parts in those songs that I rewrote. Like the one I rewrote the verse, the one I rewrote the chorus, and so I'm going to be re-recording the vocals for those because I changed them. And so I'm all for like sitting with songs and releasing them when the time is right. Sometimes we write songs that we love, but it's just not the right time to release them.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And that's cool that you're doing the same thing. I think like every artist has a back catalog of even like half-baked ideas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have like probably 30 half songs and sometimes you like grab a little bit from them, stick it in this song. It's funny. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. So can you share about American Girl now?
Yeah, I wrote that last spring and it I was feeling, like, angry, I guess, at the time. I was just, like, having, like, the classic, like, angry woman moment, which I think, like, we all have at some point where you just realize that the world, like, is not in your favor as a girl, and, like, you kind of can I was just seeing things from, like, a wider perspective, so, yeah, I just kind of put in all of these things that I was feeling into that song, like, between music industry things that I've dealt with, just, like, the expectations of being a woman and how you have to look and act and just all of the pressures that come with that. So it's kind of like a melting pot for me of all of those different feelings. And it kind of blends together me feeling sad and like my sweet side in the verses. And then not that it sounds angry, but for me, there's like louder drums and stuff in the chorus. So that was me just like feeling a little, you know, my angrier side.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really sound that angry.
I love that. I think it's super relatable too. And honestly, I'm all for channeling those angry emotions in songs. I've a few of those. I honestly think, I don't know about you, but I find it easier to write songs when I'm like sad or angry and more so than when I'm happy. Because when I'm sad or angry, it's like I gotta get this out of my system. When I'm happy, I feel like sometimes my songs come out too like cliche and fluffy. I don't know about you.
No, I totally get that, and, like, yeah, I think that we use it as, like, therapy, kind of. Like, that's what the songwriting is for me. I'm like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
I have to talk about this thing that I'm feeling." But, yeah, it is funny, like, I think depending on how your voice sounds or, like, what kind of genre you're making, sometimes you have a idea and, like, it still sounds like I just think American Girl's so funny because it still sounds so sweet, but, like, it's
Yeah, I know, I
coming
listened to it,
from
I was
an
like, "Oh, it's
angry
pretty
place.
acoustic."
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, looking ahead to 2025, what's in store?
I have an EP coming out, which is exciting, and it's gonna include some of the songs that I've put out this past year and then some new ones. So yeah, I'm just excited to have like a fuller body of work out there that really shows my depth, I guess. It's tough when you release singles because like every time I put out a single, I'm like, oh, this isn't perfectly capturing me in this way, or it's like missing this bit of what I want to say musically or lyrically. And I think having a body of work is so nice because when someone listens, they get all of those parts of you and it fits together like a puzzle instead of just those like disjointed pieces. So, yeah, I'm excited about that and just continuing to build the world like visually and yeah, and then my wife's album, Morgan, she's a pop artist and her album's coming out in February that we made together. So that's really exciting too to be able to have a hand in that production wise and writing wise and have kind of two projects come out close together. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I absolutely love how you guys are working together. That's just so cool. And I'm so excited for both of
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's cool. It's definitely intense. Like, uh, like to be working with a partner, like they're so amazing, but also like, yeah, props to anyone who does it because I get it. It's like combining work and love is
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you about the whole singles versus projects thing. I love EPs and albums, and I definitely think the way the industry is going now, like singles are becoming more popular. And it makes me a little sad because I'm that person who loves to binge the album start to finish when one of my favorite artists released an album because you get that whole picture, like you said. And I do like the lead singles leading up to an album release, and I have some like standalone singles, but it's like when you have a full project, it feels complete, and you don't get that same effect with singles.
Yeah, you don't. And like exactly like having the album or EP just it lets people live with you longer than like 3 minutes. And I think to actually dive into an artist and really appreciate them, you have to like give it a little more time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I
Absolutely.
agree.
So, to wrap up, what advice do you have for any songwriters listening?
I guess I would just say to literally do what your heart is saying, and that's it. Like, be authentic to yourself and just write from your experience and try not to feel pressured by any outside influence, even though it's hard. Um, yeah, it's so cliche, but just literally just be yourself.
I love it. Perfect. Well, it was a total joy having you on the show. Can you please share with everybody where they can connect with you online and check out your music?
Yeah, my name's Carley Ridersleeve. It's Carly with an E, and Ridersleeve is spelled like how you would expect. So you can just find me anywhere like that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You're
It was
welcome.
fun.
And listeners, that is a wrap on this chat with Carly. And of course, until next time, stay
Stay
right
right
on
on track.
track.